Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to our power session, our live show today. It is Tuesday. Excited to be back with you as always. Excited to be talking with you about our approach here at Habit Finder, giving you some things to consider, to think about your life differently. Here at Habit Finder, we spend all of our time, all of our energy focused on coming from the core, from the source of how we experience our realities, of how we experience our lives. And that is the way that we think. We want to approach our sales. We want to approach our productivity, getting over procrastination, deeper relationships, improving our health, whatever it might be. It's all going to come down to the way that we think. That's what we do here every week, every Tuesday. You can find me here on our Facebook page and on YouTube talking about things that we've learned studying the minds and the brains and the scientific measurements of the patterns inside those brains over 250,000 people over the last 20 years to be able to talk about what actually allows us to personally develop. Because unfortunately, over the years, personal development has become less and less personal. And we want to take that back. We want to take ownership of our very personal development by being able to learn to have better conversations with other people, better conversations with ourselves, being able to be more present in the now, apply structure properly, find greater joy in the journey, heal our self-esteem while connecting with others to be able to become our most real, genuine, and authentic selves. That sounds pretty awesome to me. I would imagine you're here because that sounds pretty great to you. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to be talking about our mission and our month today. Some really interesting dynamics between these two that for, I think, the majority of people that watch this, that work with us, I think it'll be of tremendous service and help to you in terms of being able to reframe a couple of things to be able to continue to grow rather than feel like you're starting over every month. So stay tuned. We're going to get started right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Session. Good morning and welcome. Excited to be here with you today. Today, we're going to dive into reframing some of our perspective in terms of how we approach, how we grow, how we strategize, how we assess our lives. Most of you are here. I don't want to say everyone, but most of you are here because you're entrepreneurs, or at least you think entrepreneurially. Okay, you think about creative solutions. You think about new ways to do things. You work well in autonomy, meaning you get to own your own destiny. You get to create what you want. You get to eat what you kill. The opportunity to be able to find that freedom is something you think about on a daily basis. And many of you have built businesses that were driven by a deeper, ever-evolving mission that you've got to be able to make an impact on the world, to be able to improve your own life circumstances, to be able to serve enough people for that to be possible, to add value to the world. And when we get here into Habit Finder, we want to dive into the way we're thinking, not necessarily what we're thinking. There's a lot of conversation about what you're thinking and that you should have good thoughts versus bad thoughts. And we've talked about that, and we'll continue to talk about the fact that there are no good thoughts or bad thoughts. There are thoughts to be observed and things to be considered in terms of how we want to move forward with them in a good way, or use oftentimes through tacit approval to move forward with them in a bad way, where we choose more stress and overwhelm and frustration and try to power through the difficult things in life rather than choose to actually become the person, which involves changing those patterns of thinking. Okay, they're like the lock on my storage unit. As I was putting my boat away yesterday, I was looking at this thing, and it's this combination. You just have to have the right numbers in the right sequence, and you can slide it and unlock it, and you can have access to everything that's in there. Our patterns of thinking are just like that lock. If we can align them to the correct sequence, the correct combination, which is personal to you, and what you want to create. What I want to create is not what you want to create. Why I want to create it is not why you want to create yours. Even if we wanted to create the same thing in general, we're coming at it from very different ways. And so everyone has a different sequence. So we're going to want to be able to measure your sequences and be able to see where the numbers are out of alignment that are not allowing you to unlock your potential and unlock your genius. Unlock what we come to find out is who we already are. That's really what we're focused on here. That's why we focus on perspective. We focus on the conversation in our brain, the patterns of thought, which are not always what you thought. It's actually what you unconsciously thought, and challenging those thought processes to reveal their cards. Because when you're playing with a full deck, when you understand what everybody else in your mind has got in terms of the different conversations and the advisors and the measurements that we can get into, you can actually start to create more intentionally. And that's what we want. We want to be able to unpack all the noise. We want to be able to unpack the conditioning and the supposed tos and the shoulds and the obligations and the challenges we've got, and then be able to start to more intentionally create the life we want from here on out, which, when it all comes down to it, comes down to revealing more of who we already are, not who we were or who we will be, who we are right now. Because everything that you need to create any sum of money that you could ever aspire to, any value you could ever create for this world, any number of people that you could make an impact on, you've already got everything you fundamentally need to do that. It's just about putting those numbers in the right alignment. There are plenty of ways to compensate for that. There are a lot of gurus out there. There are a lot of mentors out there that can show you how to jimmy rig the lock, how to be able to bypass your genuine, real, authentic self for a time and be able to create monetary success, be able to create extrinsic accomplishment. And then we find ourselves in a more expensive version of the problems we already had. And that's definitely something we want to avoid as well. And so one of the cores to doing this, when we talk in Habit Finder, is perspective. Okay. Marianne Williamson, who wrote one of my favorite quotes of all time, said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Also said, in alignment with this quote, that the greatest miracle in our life is simply changing our perspective. So I want to be able to address a perspective that I've seen creating some major challenges for people out there, especially those who are entrepreneurs and in home-based businesses. So if you are an entrepreneur, you're in a home-based business, or you're in a small business, a traditional small business, more than likely, this is going to be something that you'll want to deeply consider. And if you know anyone that is in a home-based business, or anyone that owns a small business or is entrepreneurial in general, you're going to want to tag them. You're going to want to share this with them, because this is a huge piece. I see people battling with these two things constantly, and they don't need to be at war. And these two things are your mission and your month. It's an interesting dynamic. I want you to just think about it for a second. I want you to think about the energy, the intentionality, the construct that you put into your mission, your personal mission, why you exist, what your unique gifts are, what value you have been called to add to the world, how much you have been willing to own that, how much you've been playing that down, what you've used to distract yourself from being able to maximize and optimize that. What have you used to overcome some of those distractions? What is your mission? That doesn't need to be a one-time answer. The beautiful things about missions is they evolve. We find deeper meaning as we find deeper meaning in us. We unlock greater gifts as we find that potential and act upon it within us. But I want you to think about even the energy of why you're doing what you're doing. And now I want you to turn and consider the energy that goes into the construct of your month. I want you to think about the energy of how you start your month. I want you to think, especially right now on the 27th of October, of how you finish your month. I want you to think about the frustrations that come from considering your life in the construct of a month. I want you to consider the energy and the ties to your identity, to your self-worth, that get tied to the results of a month. And how much weight, how much energy goes into the all or nothing, live or die approach to those 30 or 31 days typically that we've got to prove ourselves in that month. As you consider that, are these energies symbiotic? Are these energies collaborative? Or are they opposing forces? In my experience, for most people, when you really get down to it, they are opposing forces. I've seen people move, okay, instead of paying that portion all up front, could I pay some of it at the beginning of the month and some of it towards the end of the month? As if somehow manipulating that within those 30 or 31 days makes some massive energetic difference. Okay, we've seen us have completely different pressures and approaches and excuses early in the month that lead to a completely different response later in the month. How many of us are taking a segment of our life, as Og Mandino called it, a drop in the river of centuries, this month, and magnifying it to make it feel like it is everything? It is live or die, man. It is all or nothing. If this month is not X, if I don't hit this rank, or I don't make this much, or whatever it might be. And we start creating, you'll start to see, as you consider the dynamic between these two, these interesting rules that we create for how a month should go and how a month should feel. And we take this incredible trajectory that was created by our mission. And this trajectory allows us to be able to find perpetual progress, to continue to get better and better and better, free from expectation and agenda. We continue to get better and better and better because of our mission, because a mission is it's a destiny. Then we try to create this microcosm of it called a month, and it turns into a destination rather than a destiny. And a destiny has a lot more to do with who we become. Okay, like for example, the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy was seeking a destination in the Emerald City. What she actually found was her destiny. It was who she became. It was who her companions became in the process of their journey that demonstrated the destiny that was the mission that she had to get home. And there were plenty of ups and downs every step of the way. There were things that went right. There were things that went wrong. Imagine her taking any segment of that journey and allowing it to determine her identity, her worth, and whether she was going to make it or not. Now, I am not here to say that a month is irrelevant. I'm not here to say that you shouldn't be thinking about things in concrete segments of time. It can be really valuable to allow the mind to just focus on smaller periods of time. I believe it was Peter Drucker who said you should only be focused on 90 days and 20 years. Anything else is irrelevant. So there are periods of time, and I think that can be different for everybody. But I've noticed a lot of people focusing on segments of time just because they were told it should be 30, 90, 120, 12 months, whatever. Find the segment that lights you up, okay, that has you focused, and then find the segment that has you inspired. Whatever that distance is for you, so that both can feed your mission and your drive, and so that you don't sacrifice your mission for what many do, and that is a month. There are too many people right now trying to finish the month strong, but are being weakened because of it. And that comes from detracting from our mission for the sake of salvaging a month, rather than stepping back and becoming the observer of this microcosm, the observer of what it really is. And if you take nothing else from today's power session, I hope that you take this. Any of those segments of time, 30 days, 90 days, whatever it is, are the parameters of a game you are choosing to engage in. Your month is a game. It's a game. It's just a game. Hitting a certain target is a game. You can't show me any massively successful human being, massively successful business that can point out and go, that month was what made it, or that month is what cost us. No, it is a progression. It is an incredible opportunity to be able to progress and have perspective. In fact, I've shared this a couple of times. I'm going to share it right on here. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen really quick, because I think this really sums up what we're talking about beautifully here. So I come back here and share screen. Okay, it looks like with my update, oh, good, it's going to allow me to do it. Well, that was fun. Wrong button. All right. So it updated on me. Okay, good. We're good. So let me share this particular tab. I want to show you something in terms of this perspective. Okay. This is really important for us to pay attention to in terms of the game that we're playing, because we can get caught up into this and it can really tank our mission. It can really tank our passion. So it is this. Okay. And this is an example I've shared in many coaching sessions, many groups. So right here, if we look at Apple over the last 5 days, look at how volatile their mission has been in this microcosm of the last 5 days. Or excuse me, we're looking at the last month. So we're looking at a month. That looks like, okay, started kind of low, had a peak, came back down. Ugh. If we attached our identity to our month, look at how volatile our worth and our passion and our expectations are likely going to be jolted around like a roller coaster from hell right here. But if we go like this and go to the max, look at the mission. Look at the mission versus the month. This is the month. This is a game. This is finding influence, experimentation, and also looking for some of these highs and lows and what they mean about the bigger picture of what we're actually doing. Okay? If we're starting our month in a certain way and only to frustrate how we end it, or if we feel like we're starting it the right way and then we're ending it poorly, or if we are starting it poorly and ending it well, or whatever it is, everything about our month, this game we're playing, can teach us how to get better at our mission. But if we become a slave to our month, we will make sacrifices that we never thought we would have, maybe not even realizing that we were doing it, if we lose sight of this, the mission. And this isn't just Apple. We could pull up a number of companies. The two most common are two of the biggest companies in the world right now. Let's look at Amazon's month. Wow, they had a really similar experience. Started a little low, had a little bit of a peak and came back down. But look at the mission. Don't sacrifice your mission for the over expectation, over investment in the wrong areas, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in your month. Your month is so important. It is super, super important, but it's not everything. And that's what should allow it to be more fun. Your month is fun because it's a game and we want to play it like a game. And if any of you have ever played games with other people, here's how you want to play it. You don't want to be the person that doesn't care. No one likes to play charades or Pictionary or Risk or Monopoly with someone who doesn't care. We don't like playing games or doing anything with someone who's totally apathetic about it. So don't play the game like it doesn't matter. Your month matters. But you also don't want to play the game like the person who takes it way too seriously. Like the reason I stopped playing Settlers of Catan, because I didn't want to wait that long to find out I was going to lose, okay? So we want to be really clear about finding that balance. Your month matters, but it's not everything, and that's what makes it fun. What can you learn about your mission, about how you're getting there, about the perspective you got, the focus, what drives you from the game that is your month versus continually getting hooded over by it, by being suppressed by it, by being controlled by it, so that we lose the vision of the total runway. All because we got totally focused in and magnified on what happened yesterday. And then our mind grabbed onto it and played all these catastrophic worst case scenarios, or all this frustration of how many other times that's happened. I can't believe we're here again, and I'm dragging people across the line, and I'm so frustrated that people don't this, that, whatever, da, 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 da. It's just a month. We can experiment here. This is a laboratory to go against the grain. We can learn things in a month with more acute perspective than we can just looking out over the next 5-10 years. But if we allow that to get us totally in expectation, those concrete conditions for happiness, if we start looking at this month as make or break, all or nothing, then we lose the opportunity to make it fun. And when we can make it fun, we can be present with right now. Because many of you who are in these types of businesses, who think this way as entrepreneurs, you aren't just here today at 12:24 p.m. Mountain Time on October 27th, 2020. You are here physically, because you can't avoid that. But mentally, you have already played out 100,000 different scenarios about how the next 4 days are going to go, and what you have to do, and what you must do, and what you should do. That, or you already got it done and checking out and whatever, I'm right where I need to be. Whatever it is, are you present to right now? Because it's only where you are right now that can allow you to continue to progress in your mission without getting caught up in the expectations and the destination and the worthiness that can get tied into a month when it's just a game. But it's not, it's just a game, so it doesn't matter. It's just a game, so that means you get to play it totally available to the experience, totally present. Because if you lose this month, it's not game over. And that's exactly why when you start to surrender to that, start to embrace that, you will start to win more months. And you'll start to see the aggregate of the year, the aggregate of 2 years, the aggregate of 5 years start to compile, and you'll start to accept and embrace that you are now living inevitably rather than with expectation. And a month, looking at our life and our business in a month, only enhances expectation, enhances frustration. It can enhance excitement just as quickly as it can enhance disappointment. Remember those volatile lines when we look at just a month. Don't lose sight of your mission and allow a month to be a contained, measurable experiment, a game with how your mission's going. And look for what it can teach you, not how it frustrates you. I've seen a month crush people with leaders who were extraordinary, but they had to make sure they hit a certain quota or a certain number, a certain revenue, a certain rank by the end of a month. And they ended up missing the people in the process. And then started the next month figuring out how to leverage and manipulate the people so they didn't have to experience that again at the end of the month, rather than being totally present, totally here right now. Because when you are, you will be given the greatest weapons for playing this game, the greatest tools for playing the game of a month, and the greatest tools that will enhance months to compile upon themselves and grow exponentially into your mission are these three things: inspired ideas, intuitive impressions, and creative solutions. Those are the fruits of playing the game of a month rather than the expectation of a month, the worthiness of a month, the all or nothing systemic win or lose of a month. And when we get caught up in that, we will start to deteriorate our mission. We will slow down where we're headed. We will lose our perspective and lose our passion. And we'll start to violate connection. We'll start to violate procrastination. We'll start to create all these challenges and compensations and noise, all because we lost sight of our mission because we assumed that our month was the mission. Your month is not a mission. Your month is a game that we are playing to learn more, to experiment with, and to enhance just a little bit each time in being able to reach higher and further and faster in our mission. The fruits that you want to create from being totally present, from trusting that this is just a game, once again, are number one, inspired ideas. When you're in expectation, when you're in noise and frustration because everything hinges on this month, when your identity is tied to a month, like if your identity was tied to a board game, you are not in a position to optimize your gifting. You're not in a position to be inspired. You're on the edge of frustration constantly, trying to find anything you can for a pick-me-up and positivity and whatever else, rather than finding passion and purpose. That's where inspired ideas come from. We want to slow down. You hear this from me constantly. Slow down so you can remember this is a game. Slow down so you can remember they're a human being. There are steps and baby steps to your connection with that person to be able to build a relationship so you can influence and collaborate with that person. And then make sure you've got enough people that you're not heavily relying on any one person, but continuing to rely on your perspective, your passion, your purpose, and your influence, rather than looking at people like lottery tickets, which can become a great challenge when we get caught up in evaluating our mission as a month. So inspired ideas is number one. Number two is intuitive impressions. If we're looking at people as meal tickets, or we're looking at them as what allows this month to make us worthy, we're going to miss the person in the process. And the person is who carries out any process or supports a process or is able to magnify a process. We can't lose that. We can't lose that perspective. It will rob us of our joy. It'll rob us of who we are becoming. Our work, our mission, so-called, will become a prison sentence, hoping that when we get out at the end of it and go on probation, that suddenly we'll be able to actually enjoy what we've got. So we want those intuitive impressions. And finally, find creative solutions. So many of us are so quick to, well, if I do that, that's going to create this problem, this problem, this problem. Or whenever I do that, I have this outcome. I had this conversation with a client this morning. It was fantastic. And it was the same scenario. And the example I gave her is, well, if you get injured every time you work out, is the only solution to just stop working out? No, that's not a creative solution. That's an all or nothing solution. That's oh man, every time I go to the gym, I get hurt. I'm just going to stop going to the gym. Well, if the gym is a part of your mission, when you maintain a purpose-driven, passion-driven perspective, well, then you're not going to want to settle for that, even if it's for a few months. You're going to want to figure out how to work out in such a way that you don't get injured. But guess what you can't do? You can't figure out how to not get injured when you're working out if you just stop working out. How many of us are stopping things that are critical to our mission because we have been too focused on the month? Again, I want to say this, last of all, as we wrap this up, the month is important. Any moment of your life is important, but it is not everything. It's not your whole life. And if we'll surrender to that, we'll realize we'll become so much more available, so much more present, be able to do so much more in less time with less of a cost on our energy. When we realize this is a game and we're playing the game to learn, we're playing the game to adapt, we're playing the game to evolve, not to set expectations and get frustrated and just be mad that it didn't go the way we thought it would, or that someone didn't seem to want it as much as we thought they did. Number one cause of that problem is you didn't have enough someones. Because there's always going to be someone that doesn't want it as much or doesn't see it as clearly as you do. So just make sure you've got enough someones. But it's hard to find enough someones if we're not playing the game. If we are the game, if the month is our qualifier, the month is our identity, those 30 to 31 days are what determine whether I'm headed the right direction or not. No, you use those 30, 31 days as experiments, laboratories to have fun and play the game to get you where you're really going. You are playing multiple roles. We'll talk about that more in other power sessions. But it is simple. The more present you are, the more fun you'll have, the more inspired ideas you'll get, the more intuitive impressions you'll be able to actually hear and follow through on, and the more creative solutions you'll come up with, the more success you'll create and the more fulfillment you'll have from that success. So let's play the game. Let's play the game. It's what it is. It's a game. October, November, December, these are not make or break. These are not everything. But you can give them everything if you can let go of expectation. Because if you think driving yourself through pain and grit and power through is giving everything, it's not. It's like when I started to run track in high school. Okay, I lifted weights, and so I thought intensity and tension would help me run faster. And my coach would get after me constantly. Relax your hands, Blanchard. Relax your face, Blanchard. Relax your body, Blanchard. I'm sprinting, like I'm doing 100 meters, 400 meters. I'm doing these things that I think require intensity. And it wasn't until I started to relax. A relaxed intensity went much faster because more muscle fibers, more of my nerves, more of my brain power was available to the experience rather than the expectation. That's what we'll want to consider when we go in each month to play the game of the month. And if we play the game and we lose that month, just like if we lost playing Monopoly or Mousetrap or whatever, let's play again. That was super fun. Let's play again. Because just like those games, there's some chance, there's some focus, there's some strategy, but there's always community. There's always people we're playing the game with. And that's the most important piece that we've got. Because those intuitive impressions are about those people and you. Those inspired ideas are about those people and you. Those creative solutions are to unlock more for you and for them. So play the game and have a whole lot of fun doing it. Thanks so much for being here this week. Hope this is helpful to you for you to start putting things in perspective. Again, the month matters, but the way you make it matter is to not make it matter in the way that the human being naturally does in terms of their identity and their self-worth and all the things we've been conditioned to allow us to determine whether we are worthy through a month rather than having our perspective of our mission and then coming into the laboratory of a month to experiment and evolve and adapt and improve. Have fun, my friends. Seek after those inspired ideas, those intuitive impressions, those creative solutions, and don't allow the suppression, this restriction of this concept of a month to rob you of that kind of joy and that kind of fun and that kind of inspiration. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.